They don't go for so like that. And within the university system, no, I must place the unions in proper pathway for people to understand.
Hello and welcome to DEJI360. I'm Thelma Okoro. I will be standing in for Deji Badmus. After about 2 years of peace in Nigeria's ivory towers, the Academic Staff Union of University has declared another war on the federal government and some state governments. The union declared an indefinite strike to press home their demands for the implementation of a 2009 agreement the federal government had with the university teachers. Part of its issue with the government is refusal of the government to abide by an agreement to fund universities yearly to improve the standard of education here in the country. UNESCO recommends countries should spend at least 26% of its annual budget on education. Nigeria has never gone beyond 20%, this university lecturers say. This is unacceptable. Another bone of contention between the government and ASUU is the increase of universities established by the government and failure to pay academic earned allowances. The lecturers are accusing government of being less concerned to their welfare while politicians live in affluence in the country. But the federal government is fighting back. It's now asking ASUU to give account of the 30 billion naira released to universities in 2013. While the government and ASUU keep going back and forth on this issue, the government universities know that the students will definitely bear the brunt of this strike action. Will the government be able to meet all the demands of ASUU? Deji spoke to some ASUU officials from the University of Lagos. Here's what they had to say.
I'm now being joined by two gentlemen. Dr. Adela Jaudukoya is the chairman of ASUU Unilag, and then I also have Dr. Dele Ashiru, who is the coordinator, Strike Monitoring Committee. And Dr. Ashiru, I think I have to begin with you. Tell me, from your monitoring, what is the level of compliance?
Well, I can tell you that the level of compliance in Unilag is 100%, is total.
So no lectures going on, nothing happening?
No lectures going on, nothing. Even those who attempted to organize classes this morning.
Your men went in there
Our
and stopped
men
them.
went there and, just told them that this cannot happen. So I can assure you that there's total compliance at the University of Lagos.
Dr. Dukaya, what exactly is the problem? I mean, because this is one strike too many, and, people are just somewhat confused. For quite a while now, ASUU has been sort of quiet, and suddenly, from nowhere, we're having this.
Thank you so much. I'm happy you said ASUU have been very quiet in the recent times, and it is not for lack of issues, but it's because we as a union, we know we have a responsibility to the Nigerian society. We know we are a major stakeholder in the educational system, and we were believing that the government would do the needful. We had an agreement way back in 2009.
The famous agreement.
Yes, the famous agreement, because in every working situation, you have what we call collective agreements. That agreement was actually supposed to have been negotiated in 2012. We're in 2017. We have just been able to force them to the negotiation table. Even that agreement in question, that's what is even in contention. The government has substantially not fulfilled the agreements. And there are several
Could you
issues.
give us just some highlights of that agreement now?
Thank you very much. One, we have the issue of revitalization, proper funding of the Nigerian university system. Two, we have the issue of our end academic allowances, which have been outstanding since 2009. Three.
I know some of that. The government paid some of that.
Yes, we'll come to that.
Ago.
Yeah. Three, we have the issue of our pension administrator, what we call the Nigerian University Pension Management Company. The government, we said we agree we'll have our own PFA, and we've paid. Initially, they said we should to get the license, we paid 200 million. We paid. We asked for the license. They asked us to pay 250 million. We paid. We demanded for our license. They said we should pay 500 million. We paid. We asked for our license again. They said it has become 600 million. We paid. At the last count, which was over 1.5 years ago, they said now to get the license, we must pay 1 billion naira. We paid that over 1.5 years ago. As I'm talking to you, they are yet to release that pension, that license for us. And the implication is that we have several of our members that have no PFA. So that's that. Then we equally have the issue of staff school. The staff school is like a laboratory. Apart from being a welfare aspect of our employment, it's like a laboratory for our colleagues in education. The agreement is that the government will fund the staff school, while the university will fund the international school, the secondary school. The government has privatized, has commercialized the staff school unilaterally. And when we challenge them.
And when you talk about this staff school, you mean the one at the primary
level? The primary level. When we challenge them, the government went to court. They went to industrial courts, lost there. And up to now, the government has not changed. And don't forget, military schools, navy schools, and all of them are enjoying the same thing. And the staff schools are equally under universal basic primary education. So why privatize it? So those are some of the issues we are contending with. And finally, we equally have the issue of the salaries of our professors. If you go back memory lane, you discover in the 70s and early 60s, and the early 80s, a professor is better paid than a general. Today, a general gets more paid and better than a professor. It's not just that. A general goes home at retirement with the salary he is on. So part of that agreement is to say, every professor at retirement, you get your salary, and the 2014 Pension Amendment Act actually take care of that. Up to this moment, just issuing a memo to actually ensure that has been done, or that will be done, has not been done. These are the issues.
Dr. Ashiru, let me come to you. To be candid, when you look at the state of the economy of the country at this time, and you look at the fact that whether you like it or not, there's a challenge with resources, I mean, especially with funds. Do you think, I mean, do you think this is the right time for ASUU to be doing this?
Well, thank you very much. There will never be a right time to ask for your right from your oppressor. Because
some people will say you should show, more sensitivity.
Since 2009, we have been showing understanding with government. I think in 2017, if government demonstrates understanding for ASUU members too, it will be give and take. And to talk about the state of the economy, it is not correct that this economy cannot pay our emoluments, because these allowances and the funding is earned already. Beyond that, it is a matter of priority. When government was funding AMCON, up till now, all the individuals that were bailed out through AMCON organizations, etc., they are yet to refund government money. As we speak, government is busy disbursing Paris refund, giving bailout to cinema industries, Hollywood, Nollywood, all of them. So if they bail out public tertiary education in Nigeria too, it will not be out of place. And now that they seem not to even know what to do with the Paris refund, they could jolly well,
Well, can we say they do not know? Because we know the state governments they're using it to pay salaries.
We are told
they're
that
supposed to be using.
Some of them are buying houses with the Paris fund money. Some governors were mentioned in the media. So what we are saying is that if government reprioritizes and they plug the loopholes and attend to their own greed. Only recently, the National Assembly bought vehicles for themselves. And laughable, they say it is in our own interest. 6-point-something billion. So, what we are saying is that if this government is sincere, if they want to be responsive to the yearnings and aspirations of Nigerians, they should treat education as a public good.
How would you respond to suggestions from certain quarters too that accusations, of course, leveled against ASUU members, that basically what you do each time you go on strike is to fight for your pockets and not to actually fight for the actual funding of universities. When I talk about the actual funding, I'm talking about, for instance, fight for capital projects, for instance, to be put in place and all of that.
You see,
that this is basically about those end allowances.
That is not correct. That is absolutely not correct. And it is part of the deliberate act of misinforming the generality of the people. And I give you an example. In 2012, when, we signed an agreement in 2009. Now, when funds were eventually released years after, and ASUU made it abundantly clear to government that, look, these funds are still not enough to revitalize public education in Nigeria. The government, under the Secretary to Government, Pius Ayim, argued that there was the need to do what today we refer to as the needs assessment. That has nothing to do.
And that is true. That is
needs
true.
assessment of Nigerian universities. It has nothing to do with emoluments or salaries of lecturers. And government and ASUU went round Nigerian universities, all campuses.
I'm aware of that.
You are aware of that. The report is on the net. You could check it. Needs assessment for Nigerian universities. And you need to see that report. The appalling state of public tertiary education in Nigeria, where scientists are using stove as bouncing baker, no reagents in the library, no books in the laboratory, no books in the library. You will find a university who is not buying books or materials in the laboratory, constructing gigantic gates. Vice chancellor's offices are competing with those of the presidency, etc. And ASUU says this cannot continue.
And who would you blame for that?
Including the living conditions of our students, because ASUU believe that both lecturers and students are partners in the business of knowledge production. And consequently, we care about classrooms, we care about the environment, we care about the hostels which students reside on campus. And that's why from the needs assessment, both ASUU and government, we came to an agreement that government will need to inject 1.3 trillion on a progressive basis for about 4 years.
Very good.
That's quite order to revitalize these decaying structures in the university. You will recall that our union met with former President Goodluck Jonathan for about 17 hours. And after that meeting in 2013, the federal government released 200 billion. Since that 2013, up till as we speak, no dime has been released for that purpose.
Can't we understand, I'm just asking, can we say it's understandable when you look at the fact that revenue coming to the government has actually depleted? And while you chew on that, I also want you to tell us how state universities are going to be affected by the demands of ASUU, because we know that state universities are supposed to be funded by the various state governments. Your university, for instance, is a federal university, and you're talking with the federal government. So I'm just wondering how an agreement you would reach with the federal government, you would want that to apply to state universities.
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me start from that end. Every time that we have a negotiation of agreement with the federal government, it is not just about the federal universities. We have state university duly represented there. And that's why when you talk about the need assessment, it's not just about the federal university.
Of course, all the universities.
That 200 billion we equally that we mentioned.
But I'm just saying, is that strategy actually realistic? Let's face it. Would you expect the federal government, for instance, to to make a commitment on behalf
There is
of the
only
people?
one university system.
That's what we're saying. There's
Only
one.
one and university is universal.
And again, there's only one regulatory body. And the
NUC.
NUC. And the situation is this. You see, the federal government, education is on the concurrent list.
Yeah,
The implication of that is that
so
both
maybe
the
you
federal,
should have state ASUU.
No, just wait. That is part of the technique to divide. The state university, we are in this together. You understand? And the issue is this. You see, like we have said, we have...
I know you're in this together, but I'm saying, is it realistic?
It is realistic.
How would you want to implement an agreement you have with the federal government? How would you want to apply that now
We don't have an agreement with
to
the federal
states?
government. The states are part of the agreement. That's what we are saying. We have an agreement where we have stakeholders. We are there. State universities are there. Vice chancellors are represented there. The federal government is well represented there. So it's an omnibus agreement where every stakeholders in it. Okay, for instance, let's look at even this universal basic primary education. In every federal government where you have intergovernmental relationship, you have a situation whereby you must meet together and discuss areas of common interest. And that's not to say, you see, the greatest problem is not even this problem of at the level of the federal government. It's even the issue of state government being irresponsible in terms of turning universities into constituency projects. Go to several of our state universities, states. You can't see government presence there. People establish university because they are expecting money from tax fund. And yet, look at Ogun State. They have 2 universities that cannot be funded as of today. He has established another one. Go to Ondo State. The 4th is in the process of being established.
About 4 universities.
Go to Edo State.
Edo.
And all over the country.
Bayelsa.
And of course, on the federal government too, you are talking about.
And we're talking about Bayelsa State that has not been able to pay salaries to its.
This is equally very important.
University lecturers for several months.
You are equally saying that there's no revenue. Even within the last 2 years, how many universities has Buhari the APC administration established? Has created the same thing. So governments, both at the federal and state level, that cannot fund existing universities,
is busy establishing.
They are proliferating more. And again, let's correct this propaganda. It is not true that there is no fund. Yes, you might be selling less fuel now, but what was the exchange rate of dollar to naira during the past administration? It was at the most 150, 160. So what is the exchange rate now? Let's use the official rate of 305.
You should have more naira.
You will have more naira. We spend naira in this economy for
business. It's just the value of the naira that we're talking about.
We
it's the value of that naira. I mean, the nominal value.
And again, more importantly, since 2009, we had an agreement. We said Nigerian academics, Nigerian intellectuals are the lowest paid in Africa. They said no. We went on a survey. We came back with what we call an African average.
Can I ask you, what's the average salary of a professor in our university?
The highest paid professor in Nigerian university
is less than 500,000
naira. Between 450 and maybe 480. The highest paid.
That's the professor at bar.
At bar. So we said so they came with the African average. With that African average, they now say, you know what? And that's a part of our sense of patriotism, that for now we can't afford this. And it is not budgeted for. By 2010 budget, we accommodate it. They created another scale, which is supposed to be a temporary scale. We are still on that temporary scale from 2009 to now. And people say ASUU is not considerate. So what are we talking about?
A president promised us that they were going to deal with us when they liberalize.
Yeah.
And today they all have universities.
Including that president himself.
Including the president himself. So the design is actually to cripple, public tertiary education in Nigeria so that they can continue to smile to the banks, continue to exploit and restrict access of the Nigerian people
let me just add this.
Public tertiary education.
Let me just add this. In spite of the monumental money and exploitative fee they take from the students, none of this private university in the last 10 years have been able to compete with our
our universities.
With our public universities. None of them.
We all know that anyway.
So,
Most of the lecturers
and
who
that
actually
tells
go
you,
to teach there are from the
that
public
tells you the
universities.
commitment,
no
the
doubt.
resilience, and the dedication of ASUU member to
Can
teaching.
I ask you, we also know that these public universities, whether states or federal government, collect fees. Does ASUU bother to find out what exactly the management of these universities do with the fees?
Well, the way to answer that question is to say that in federal universities, there are no tuition.
There are fees. We know there are fees
I'm
collected.
coming.
There
There are
tuitions.
no tuition.
There are tuitions. We know that. I mean,
There
you
are
know
no.
No.
Please.
It might be very low, but there are fees.
Please.
We don't pay
Okay,
tuition.
maybe not
Please.
tuition, but there are fees.
Please, I'm coming to
let's break
explain.
it
Just
down.
go on. Go on.
They don't pay tuition, but they are made to pay what we call, or what administration, not even ASUU, call
Municipal.
fees. For example, because government will not do the needful, students have to pay for hostels, they have to pay for their ID card.
And that's a question I'm asking. Do you bother? Does ASUU bother to ask, for instance, if students pay for hostel fees?
Yeah, they
what
give
exactly
them. They
does
give
it
Okay,
them
let me give you an
hostels.
example.
They give hostels. Students live in hostels. They pay for ID card. They get ID card. They pay for medicals because government cannot,
or it's not,
taking care of it. They buy drugs. When students are ill, they go there. They give them drugs. So, in a way, we bother to ask.
Let me call it hard, because specifically what you said about accommodation. We have a situation in Umudike, where a vice chancellor took money for accommodation. Edoga,
And embezzled it.
ASUU took him on.
We took him on.
It was in all over the papers. So we equally have a situation in Unilomi. The present NUC's
The
Registrar of JAMB, the present
Vice
Chancellor, we took them up on the mismanagement of the fund of that university. It's in the public domain. We went and
3-page.
The reason I'm asking this
Sorry,
is
let me
if
finish.
some of these monies,
Yeah.
if some of these monies were put to proper use, you probably would not have, the terrible decay you have in our university. You would still have the decay, but maybe not in such a parlor state.
You see, the point we're raising is this.
And then you go to the state universities. I mean, you're lecturers of the federal university, but you go to the state universities. Virtually every state university I know in this country, with the exception of maybe, just a few now, I mean, the students pay school fees.
Yes. Yeah.
They
But
do in state universities.
Or convert the school fees to dollars, for instance, or just even see what would they buy. You see, the truth is that the school fees alone cannot do it, except for the northern state, and that is very unfortunate. Most states in the southern parts of the country, their governors are very irresponsible and they are not supporting in terms of what do we call it, subvention. I can start from Ogun State. You can only single out Lagos State. Ogun State, the last time subvention has been paid to the university, like our colleague in Taswed. The last time they got paid is May. There are several states that have not been paid in maybe 8 months, 9 months, and things like that. So let me tell you the logic about this so-called this thing for those states. It is the fees they collect from students
That they used
to pay salaries around the system.
around the universities.
They wait
Until students pay.
on student pay before they can. I will tell you, for example, in Taswed, our members has contributed 400 million for their pension. It has been used to pay salaries within that university.
It's quite terrible. It's quite terrible.
It is sad.
How can this be resolved? I mean, certainly, as we've always seen in the past, it will be difficult for the government to meet all of your demands.
If there is
what
goodwill,
will be the minimum that can make you go back to the classrooms?
the situation has changed. Because we are patriots, because we are bothered about what happened in the university system, we've before now been shown so much understanding. We've allowed ourselves to be deceived over and over again. But it's obvious that this government, this ruling class particularly, is not interested in education, and that we cannot continue this way again. So the basic minimum now is that all this agreement, because you see, it's becoming a bad name for us. You equally say another thing. ASUU is back again.
At the beginning of this interview, what you said is ASUU is back again.
Forgetting that we have been conceding.
So now there's no irreducible minimum. Every
single item
on that our charter of demand must be met by government. Otherwise,
that's why we say it is total, comprehensive, and indefinite. We are resolute. We have passed through this stage before, and we are on it.
It's a good time for private universities, you would say.
Oh, but I've just told you, the Nigerian people have shown that they don't have confidence in the private
universities.
That is why some few months.
And look at the manipulation to even coerce.
That's what I'm going to
go to private universities.
See what JAMB is doing. They started 2 years ago. You must take one private university. Yeah, sometimes they even try to demarket public university. Nigerians don't have confidence in private university. Who are their lecturers? Our retirees. So
that's quite true.
What are we talking about?
Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on the program. Let's just hope this is resolved. But honestly, it's quite worrying. Thank you very much for coming on the program. Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on DEJI360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.